واذكر في الكتاب إبراهيم إنه كان صديقا نبيا إذ قال لأبيه يا أبت لم تعبد ما لا يسمع ولا يبصر ولا يغني عنك شيئا يا أبت إني قد جاءني من العلم ما لم يأتك فاتبعني أهدك صراطا سويا يا أبت لا تعبد الشيطان إن الشيطان كان للرحمن عصيا يا أبت إني أخاف أن يمسك عذاب من الرحمن فتكون للشيطان وليا قال أراغب أنت عن آلهتي يا إبراهيم لئن لم تنته لأرجمنك واهجرني مليا قال سلام عليك سأستغفر لك ربي إنه كان بي حفيا وأعتزلكم وما تدعون من دون الله وأدعو ربي عسى ألا أكون بدعاء ربي شقيا فلما اعتزلهم وما يعبدون من دون الله وهبنا له إسحاق ويعقوب وكلا جعلنا نبيا ووهبنا لهم من رحمتنا وجعلنا لهم لسان صدق عليا صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرج. محمد وآل محمد صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. For the love of the Holy Prophet and his holy family, please recite the second salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. For the reappearance of our awaited Savior, please recite the third salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraj. The salam and marsiya that I have tonight is for this special occasion today, where today is the Tasua. And if we go back to the year 61 Hijrah, this is the day when Imam Hussain alayhi salam has been surrounded. Now there is no hope. Now there is only going to be battle the next day. So the salam describes the passing away of Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salatu salam and the desperation, the ghurbat of his father. And the marsiya following that describes where Imam Hussain salam takes his most effective weapon that he has and sacrifice it in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. کھا کر سینہ جو سینے پر اکبر گزر گئے کھا کر سینہ جو سینے پر اکبر گزر گئے بولے حسین اے ماہ انور کدھر گئے پیری میں گھر حسین کا برباد کر گئے زخمی جگر سے یوں شفق خون میں بھر گئے غم سے یہ حال ہے کہ بہت بے قرار ہوں غم سے یہ حال ہے کہ بہت بے قرار ہوں، آواز دو کہ آن کر تم پر نثار ہوں، کھا کر سینہ. اے ظالمو غریب ہوں اور بے دیار ہوں، اور بھولے ہو کیوں رسول کا میں یادگار ہوں. للہ رحم کھاؤ. بہت بے قرار ہوں، ارے بیٹا جوان مر گیا، میں سوگوار ہوں. ارے دیکھ لوں میں اپنے سعادت نشان کو، برچھی کہاں لگی میرے کڑیل جوان کو، کھا کر سینہ. صلوات. اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد. بانو کے شیر قار کو ہفتم سے پیاس ہے، بچے کی نبض دیکھ کے ماں بے حواس ہے. نے دودھ ہے نہ پانی کے ملنے کی آس ہے، پھرتی ہے آس پاس یہ جینے سے یاس ہے. کہتی تھی کیا کروں میں دہائی حسین کی، پتلی پھری ہے آج میرے نور عین کی، پتلی پھری ہے آج میرے نور عین کی. فریاد یا علی میں کدھر جاؤں یا علی، ان داغوں کو کہاں سے جگر لاؤں یا علی، کس طرح ان کی سانس کو ٹھہراؤں یا علی، پانی کا قحط ہے کہاں پالوں یا علی. پچھلی کو آنکھ کھولے تھے اب کھولتے نہیں، روتے نہیں ہمکتے نہیں بولتے نہیں، روتے نہیں ہمکتے نہیں بولتے نہیں. آخر کہا یہ سب نے بلاؤ امام کو، لاؤ خدا کے واسطے لاؤ امام کو، اس بے زباں کا حال سناؤ امام کو، نیلی رگے گلے کی دکھاؤ امام کو. اکبر کی لاش لے گئے ہے قتل گاہ میں، کوئی پکار لو وہ ابھی ہوں گے راہ میں، کوئی پکار لو وہ ابھی ہوں گے راہ میں. حضرت لٹا رہے تھے ابھی لاشیں جوان، جو خیمے سے بلند ہوئی بیووں کی فغاں، بولے کہ چین بھائی کو بن بھائی کے کہاں، اکبر تمہاری لاش کا خالق نگاہ باں. ہم قیمگاہ میں جاتے ہیں اصغر بلاتے ہیں، ان کو بھی پاس لا کے تمہارے لٹاتے ہیں، ان کو بھی پاس لا کے تمہارے لٹاتے ہیں۔ بیٹھے سرانے جھولے کے شبیر سر جھکائے، اصغر کے کان سے لب موجز نما ملائے، چپکے سے کچھ کہا کہ وہ سنتے ہی مسکرائے، سوئے حسین ہاتھ بھی بے ساختہ بڑھائے۔ بولی سکینہ بابا نے مشکل کشائی کی، اماں مبارک آنکھ کھلی میرے بھائی کی، اماں مبارک آنکھ کھلی میرے بھائی کی۔ ہاتھوں پہ اس کو لے کے چلے شاہ کربلا، اور ساتھ ساتھ گود کو کھولے ہوئے قضا۔ لکھا ہے دھوپ تیز تھی اور گرم تھی ہوا، اصغر پماں نے ڈال دی اجلی سی ایک ردا، چادر نہ تھی وہ چہرے پورا بوتاب پر، ٹکڑا سفید ابر کا تھا آفتاب پر، ٹکڑا سفید ابر کا تھا آفتاب پر۔ پہنچے قریب فوج جو تو تیورا کے رہ گئے، چاہا کرے سوال پر شرما کے رہ گئے، غیرت سے رنگ اڑ گیا تھرا کے رہ گئے، چادر پسر کے چہرے سے سرکا کے رہ گئے، آنکھیں جھکا کے بولے یہ ہم ان کو لائے ہیں، اصغر تمہارے پاس غرض لے کے آئے ہیں، اصغر تمہارے پاس غرض لے کے آئے ہیں۔ پھر ہونٹ بے زبان کے چومے جھکا کے سر، رو کر کہا جو کہنا تھا سو کہہ چکا پدر، باقی رہی نہ بات کوئی اے میرے پسر، سوکھی زبان تم بھی دکھا دو نکال کر، پھیری زبان لبوں پر جو اس نور عین نے، تھرا کے آسمان کو دیکھا حسین نے، تھرا کے آسمان کو دیکھا حسین نے۔ مولا فلک کو دیکھ رہے تھے کہ ناگہاں لی ہر ملا نے شانے سے دو ٹانگ کی کمان، ترکش سے جب کے کھینچ لیا تیر جاں ستا، چھوڑا کمان سے تاک کے حلقوں میں بے زبان، چھٹتے ہی حلق بچے کا چھیدا جو تیر نے، تھرا کے آسمان کو دیکھا صغیر نے، تھرا کے آسمان کو دیکھا صغیر نے۔ کیا سن تھا تیر کھاتے ہی بچہ دہل گیا، سوکھے گلے سے خون کا دریا ابل گیا، تڑپا جو شے کے ہاتھوں پر تو من کا ڈھل گیا، ٹوپی گری زمین پر اور دم نکل گیا، ننھی کلائیوں میں تشنج سے ہل پڑے، ہچکی جو آئی منہ سے انگوٹھے نکل پڑے، ہچکی جو آئی منہ سے انگوٹھے نکل پڑے، منہ آسماں سے شے نے پھرایا کہ کیا ہوا، دیکھا پار حلق سے تیرے جفا ہوا، بچہ تڑپ رہا ہے لہو میں بھرا ہوا، اور ننھا ہاتھ زخم گلو پر دھرا ہوا، آنکھیں پھرائے دیتے ہیں تیور بدلتے ہیں، آگے تو دودھ اگلے تھے اب خون اگلتے ہیں، آگے تو دودھ اگلے تھے اب خون اگلتے ہیں، کھینچا گلے سے بچے کے آہستہ شہ نے تیر، اور ہاتھوں پا بلند کیا لاشے صغیر، گردن جھکا کے بولے کہ اے خالق قدیر، مقبول ہو حسین کا یہ فدیہ اخیر، مقبول ہو حسین کا یہ فدیہ اخیر، شش ماہ کوئی کشتے تیرے ستم نہیں، یہ بے زبان ناقہ سالے سے کم نہیں، یہ بے زبان ناقہ سالے سے کم نہیں۔
Now I will ask Sister Ayman to come and do her presentation.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وآله الطيبين الطاهرين سيما بقية الله في الأرضين. Assalamu alaikum. We thank Allah for granting us the blessing of attending the Majlis of mourning of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. My topic for tonight is the concept of shukr, or being thankful. Have you ever thought about how many blessings Allah has given to us? If we want to make a list of all the blessings that Allah has given to us, how long would that list be? It will take us a very long time to make such a list because there are so many blessings that we know of, and then there are some blessings that we're not aware of. There are some blessings that we remember and some blessings that we don't remember. When was the last time that we woke up and we opened our eyes and we said, Alhamdulillah, thanks to Allah that my eyes are working today? What if we wake up one day and our eyes aren't working? When was the last time we said, Oh Allah, thank you for giving us the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam? Or, Ya Allah, thank you for giving me a tongue in which I can speak to other people. Or, Ya Allah, thank you that I can swallow food. Did you know that some people can't swallow food? There are many blessings that Allah has given to us that we take for granted. This means that we think they're always going to be there, but that's not the case. They may not always be there. So, if we think of all the blessings that we want to thank Allah for, how many times would we have to thank Allah? 1,000 times? 10,000 times? 100,000 times? 1,000,000 times? 1,000,000,000 times? Infinite? The sister of Imam Hussein alayhi salam teaches us how to thank Allah. Even after all the hardships she went through, she said, Alhamdulillah, all praises to Allah, great as the amount of pebbles and sand that exists in this planet. Wow, you can't even count them. That's how many times we should thank Allah for all the great things He has given to us. There is a very beautiful supplication known as the supplication of Imam Hussein on the day of Arafah. And in this dua, Imam Hussein alayhi salam thanks Allah for many things that we really don't pay attention to in our daily lives. He thanks Allah for the different parts of our body that help us breathe or hear, and even the different parts of our eye. Did you know that our eyes have many different parts, most of which we probably haven't even heard of? They have the cornea, pupil, iris, anterior chamber, posterior chamber, retina, optic disc, optic nerve, retinal blood vessels. Wow! There are so many different parts working in our eyes, and if one of them doesn't work, we will stop seeing. Subhanallah, isn't that amazing? We should thank Allah for every single one of them. Did you know that our eyes can see up to 10 million different colors? Subhanallah. And this is just the eye. Think about all the other different things that we have in our bodies for which we should be thankful to Allah. So now that we're thanking Allah about being thankful, did you know there are 3 ways to thank Allah? One is to thank Him in our hearts by saying something like, Ya Allah, it is you who has given us the eye, and we thank you for that. We can also be grateful with our tongues and by saying Alhamdulillah or Shukran Allah. The third way is to thank Allah with the different parts of our body. What does that mean? That means that we use our body parts in the way of Allah. Ya Allah, you have given me a tongue, so I will use the tongue in your way. To say good words, not bad words. To recite the Quran, to read dua, to recite latniya and nohas. You have given me eyes, so I will use the eyes in a way that pleases you, not in a way that displeases you. For example, I will be very careful not to watch shows or movies that will make me away from you. I will not study, I will read the Quran, and I will look at my parents with happiness. Ya Allah, you have given me hands, so I will use these hands in your way by helping others. I will not use my hands to hurt other people. That's the real meaning of being grateful. These are the 3 different ways of thanking Allah. Ideally, we should combine all of these together, and at all times we should have a feeling of gratitude in our hearts. Be thanking Allah with our tongues, and use the blessings He has given us in a way that pleases Him. The Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam have many beautiful sayings about thanking Allah and being grateful. Imam As-Sajjad alayhi salam says, Surely, Allah likes those servants who thank Him and are grateful to Him. Imam Ali alayhi salam teaches us that true thankfulness of any blessing is that we use that blessing properly, and especially make sure that we do not use that blessing in a haram way, in a way that Allah has told us not to. We ask Allah that we are always among those who thank Him for His blessings and not amongst those who use His blessings in a way that displeases Him. O Allah, please hasten the reappearance of the Imam so we can finally live as good Muslims in a safe world. Allahi Ameen. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. محمد وآل محمد بلند الصلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. برائے خصوصی امام زمانہ بارے دیگر صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. For the love of Fatima Az-Zahra, salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. A third salawat for the love of Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا أبو القاسم المصطفى محمد. وصلى اللهم على آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. من عرف نفسه فقد عرف ربه. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
When we talk about Karbala, we have to understand that Karbala itself is a guide beyond all guides. When we talk about Karbala itself, we have to understand that the message of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayh is so big and so vast that it inculcates all of humanity, that inculcates every aspect of human existence, whether it is from the idea of the spiritual revolution that we have been talking about, or the physical revolution, or the ideas of justice as proposed by Aba Abdullah al-Hussein salamullahi alayhi. Salat, please.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
And therefore, we really have to understand that the message of Karbala is a message of absolute unity. The message of Karbala is a message of humanity. It's a message of values. It's a message of justice, whereby one cannot live without inculcating the principles of Karbala in one's daily life. It's very easy to say, but imagine now, being that we are in 2021 in the United States of America, that we have been talking about the whole idea behind Karbala as a spiritual revolution, and that is necessary. That is absolutely necessary. Because if we do not have that spiritual connection to Aba Abdullah, everything is lost. If we do not have that spiritual inculcation for the love of Ahlul Bayt in our hearts, everything is lost. If we do not actually try to practice Karbala in our daily existence, everything is lost. When we try to understand Karbala, we have to understand that first and foremost, it is the ideals of the Husseini revolution that must prevail. The ideals of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein must prevail over all of the other ideals or all other priorities that we have. When we talk about Karbala, therefore, it must be the idea that Imam Hussein takes precedence over everything else. Over my physical being, Aba Abdullah has more right than I do. Over my spiritual being, Aba Abdullah has more right than I do. Why is it, therefore, that we sometimes forget that Aba Abdullah al-Hussein has more right over our souls, or has more right over our being and our wujud than we ourselves do as human beings? When we talk about Karbala, it must be understood that the realities of Ashura must be inculcated in every aspect of our life, without which everything is just an empty slogan. It is just an empty slogan. Recite Salat, please. When we talk about Karbala, therefore, there must be an understanding that Karbala gave the zamir of humanity such enlightenment that we gained life again, and we gain life again and again and again, and it is all due to the barakah of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. It is all due to the fact that we owe everything to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. There is not a single human being in this world today that can say that they do not own their existence to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. The whole wujud of humanity is dependent on Abu Abdullah. The whole existence of everything in this world is dependent on what happened in Karbala in 61 AH. When we say, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul wa ulil amri minkum, O you who believe, follow Allah, then follow the Prophet and those who have been vested in authority. The whole idea is that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein has been vested with the greatest authority. Had it not been for his revolution, the world itself would not exist. Therefore, we must understand that if we do not cry for Hussein, crying for Hussein is a blessing. If we do not cry for him, that does nothing to go against his message. If we will not cry for Abu Abdullah, the trees will mourn, the stones will mourn, the earth will mourn, the skies will mourn. And that is the true nature of Karbala. When we understand this, we have to accept the idea that I have nothing in myself had it not been for the love of Imam al-Hussein salamullahi alayhi. If it were not for the love of Abu Abdullah, there would be no purpose to my being. Abu Abdullah is that being, is that person that showed the world how to live through death. Abu Abdullah showed the world how to live through death, whereby many people have the misconception, and I would say most people do, that in order to live, we need to be physically alive. That is the biggest misconception that we could possibly have. Because when we say live, when we say life, when we say to be alive, there is that condition that we need to have physical existence. But Abu Abdullah showed us that we can be alive even in our death. Imagine that. Imagine that. He showed us how we can reach true enlightenment even when we are dead. He showed us how we can actually personify the mission of God on this earth even when we are dead. That seems like such a drastic shift, whereby Yazid had thought that by killing Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, that he would have done away with the message of Hussein, that he would have done away with the life of Hussein, that he would have done away with the paygam of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. He would have done away with everything that Imam Hussein stood for. Yet Imam Hussein said, you want to kill me, fine, kill me, but I will show you how to live even in death. The ultimate enlightenment, he showed us, living beyond death. Imagine that. Living beyond the physical body and transforming one's existence in such a way that you become truly the embodiment of the message of God even when you are dead. That is a great shift than what people had previously thought, and they still think so today. If I am alive, I have to know it is because of Hussein. If I am alive, I have to know it is because of the sacrifice that occurred on 61 AH on the 10th of Muharram, where if it was not for that sacrifice, there would have been no reason or purpose to our creation and our being. We would have lost everything had it not been for Hussein. We would have not had the blessing of commemorating Hussein if it were not for what happened on 61 AH. And you know, I believe I quoted this before, the kalam of one of the more well-known reciters in the Indo-Pak subcontinent, Sache, Muhammad Ali Rizvi. They say he had a kalam where he said, Gar jiye saal bhar phir karenge ye gham, aur agar mar gaye to ye hoga alam, hai afsos ji bhar ke roye na hum. That if we were given life for another year, we would be here commemorating Hussein. If we were given life for another Ashura, we would be here commemorating Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And then he said, if we had lost our lives for some reason within that year, then we would complain that we had not the blessing of commemorating Hussein again. It is that blessing that we have to understand. If Hussein was not there, there would have been no purpose to life. There would have been no purpose to humanity. There would have been no purpose to existing. Existence would have lost all purpose had it not been for Imam Hussein. If it were not for Imam Hussein, we would not have a purpose for our being. If it were not for Imam Hussein, we would have lost every iota of desire to live. But it is because of the sacrifice of Abu Abdullah that we learn to live in our death. It is because of the sacrifice of Abu Abdullah that we learn to live through dying. We learn to live through dying. He showed us how to reach that blessed station of humanity whereby our physical bodies mean absolutely nothing. Because everything that remains, the only thing that remains, is the face of Allah. This physical world is really nothing. It is just a facade where we think that we are doing something great, but we can never repay for what Abu Abdullah al-Hussein himself did. Recite Salah, please. It is through that great divine sacrifice that we learn to live and gain the true lessons of the life that He wanted us to live. He showed us sacrifice. He showed us humanity. He showed us justice. He showed us value. He showed us compassion. He showed us love. He showed us that love was such a high place in the heart of Abu Abdullah, that the love of Allah had such a high place in the heart of Abu Abdullah, that we gain life through his love. We gain life through the love of Hussein, to the love of the Hussein had for Allah. He gave so much. All we have to do is to follow in his footsteps. All we have to do is try. It's not even following in his footsteps. All we have to do is make the intention now that today in 2021 in Kansas City, that we are ready for you, Hussein. That the message that you have lives on through all humanity, for all time. Why? Because you, Hussein, are the manifestation of the truth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You, Hussein, are the manifestation of the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You, Hussein, are the manifestation of all the divine qualities of Allah on this earth. On this earth, there is no understanding of God without Hussein. In this world, there is no understanding of Allah without Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. There is no understanding of that divine message and that divine nature in that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein wanted us to follow so much that he gave everything for it. We must understand that saying that Yazid lost is not enough. We have to believe that he lost. If I say Yazid lost, does that do anything to the fact that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein is still alive? But believing it, and believing that Imam Hussein won on the day of Ashura is the greatest thing that we can do in our time in this world. Please recite the salawat. This sacrifice itself was a divine mission. It itself was a manifestation of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had wanted for humanity. It was that sacrifice that gave purpose and life to humanity again, and it continues to do it again and again throughout the ages, throughout the generations. Mankind changes. Society might, inshallah, go through improvement. But the love of Hussein stays in our heart. And it is through the love of Hussein, it is only through the love of Hussein that we can reach true enlightenment and true spiritual reformation. That is the only way to Allah. Hussein gave everything for God, therefore God gave everything for Hussein. Hussein gave everything for God, therefore God gave everything for Hussein. Hussein said that my family is nothing. My family is nothing. Therefore God said, Hussein, your family is everything. God said, your family is everything. Hussein said, God is everything. God said, Hussein, you are everything. Hussein said, God is everything. God said, Hussein, you are everything. Hussein said, God, I will give everything for you. God said, Hussein, I will give everything for you. It was that divine principle that guided Abu Abdullah al-Hussein in Karbala. That divine principle. And you know what? Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, on the night of Shab-e Ashur, the night of Ashura, there are different rawayat as to what happened on the day of Ashura, yes. But from my understanding, from what I've read, the rawayat on the night of Ashura seem to be very clear. Because what happens on the day of Ashura? Everybody becomes shaheed, everybody becomes martyred. But they say that on the night of Ashura, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein is with his companions. He is with the elite of the elite, the cream of the crop, as they say. The highest level of soldiers and workers for the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you know what he says? He has all of his companions with him. He's gathered them all. And he says, tomorrow there's going to be a huge battle. Not just huge, massive battle. And everybody is going to become martyred. Everybody's going to become shaheed. Therefore, if you want to protect your life and you want to leave, that's fine. You can go ahead and leave. Does anybody leave? No. He says, fine. If you are afraid that people will think bad of you, if you are afraid that there will be negative repercussions for you, I will turn off the lights. I will turn off the lights, and you can take one of my family members and go with them, and they will help you leave Karbala. Anybody leaves? No. He says, fine. If you wanted Jannah and you came for Jannah, I give you the promise of paradise. Does anybody leave? No. That is the Husseini revolution. That is the idea where I can look myself in the eye and say that Ya Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, today you are not here because we are not ready. But I make the promise today, Ya Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, that today, I make allegiance to Imam Hussein. I make allegiance to the Hussein of the time, that wherever he is, in whichever place he is, whichever state he's in, that I give everything for Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman today. That I give everything for Sahib al-Zaman today. Why? Because Abu Abdullah al-Hussein showed that once you give everything for the path of God and therefore the representative of God, God gives everything for you. God gives you the respect that you want. God gives you the stature that you want in paradise. God gives you everything. And I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I believe I said it before in the previous nights that we've had. They say that people always desire paradise. But if we were to tell the Azadar of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein that if you had paradise on one side and the other side you had the Raza of Bibi Fatima Az-Zahra, the Azadar of Imam Hussein will always choose the Raza of Fatima Az-Zahra. They will never sacrifice themselves for anything except the Raza of Fatima Az-Zahra. So let us make the promise today, dear brothers and sisters, that today, now, Kansas City, 2021, United States of America, today we make the promise that wherever the Hussein of our time is, we make the promise that, oh Hussein of our time, Hussein is Aman. Today we make the promise that we will be from your soldiers. We make the promise, we will be from the ones who say labbaik to you right away, because the Hussein of our time is gharib, my brothers and sisters. The Hussein of our time, gharib both in the Arab sense of the word and the Urdu and Farsi sense of the word. Gharib meaning he is distant, he is far. And we believe that all the Aimma of Ahlul Bayt and all Ahlul Bayt come to the Majlis of Imam Hussein. So I don't know where Imam al-Zaman is sitting. But in the sense, he is distant from the time of his reappearance, which is contingent on our being ready for him. The time of his reappearance is contingent on our being ready for him. And he is gharib in the sense of the way we say it in Urdu and Farsi. He is gharib because he is separated from his companions. His true companions will see him and they will be there. He will be there for them, yes. But the idea that we will be there for him, we will serve him, we will fight for him, we will die for him, that, are we ready? That's the question. Are we ready to say labbaika ya sahib al-zaman? Are we ready? See, on the night of Ashura, about Abdullah al-Hussein, it says that he makes rounds, visiting every tent that is there on the day of on the night of Ashura, on Shab Ashur. He is making his rounds. He goes to every tent. He goes to every tent, and he sees what the women are saying to their children. He sees what the women are saying to their children. He goes to the tent of Lady Zainab al-Kubra. He hears what she is saying to Aun and Muhammad. He hears them saying that, oh children, oh my children, oh Aun Muhammad. He hears her saying that tomorrow is going to be a fierce fight. Listen to me, my son and my daughter. Today is going to be a fierce fight. She says to them, tomorrow when the battle occurs, when you get permission to go fight, I don't want you to even think about drinking water, even if you reach the riverbank. I don't want you to think about drinking water. You know why? She says, because the children of Hussein are thirsty. Because the children of your master Hussein are thirsty. That is why I don't want you to think about having any water. You know what else happens? He goes to the tent of Layla. Layla is saying to Ali al-Akbar, oh son, tomorrow there's going to be a fierce battle. Tomorrow there's going to be a fierce battle. You know what, son? She says to her son that I don't want to be ashamed in front of Fatima to Az-Zahra. That Fatima would say to me, that you gave preference to your son. So I want you to go first to be slaughtered on the way of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. He goes to the tent of Fizza, or Fadda as they say in Arabic. Fadda does not have any children present with her in Karbala. She's praying that she has somebody to sacrifice for Hussein. Imam Hussein says, oh mother Fidda, I will be your sacrifice on the day of Ashura. He goes to the tent of Rubab. And she is praying, she is doing munajat to Allah. She's asking Allah, oh Allah, I wish my son could be sacrificed for Hussein. Imam al-Hussein, I don't know what he said. I cannot say what he said. Nor do I have the power or the strength to say what he said. But Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, he gives her comfort saying that your son too will be slaughtered in Karbala. Your son will also be slaughtered in Karbala. Every Mother is saying same things to their children on the day of Ashura. On the day of Ashura, you know what happens on the day of Ashura? All the companions are being sacrificed. Habib goes, Hur goes, Muslim ibn Awsaja goes, Zuhair ibn al-Qayn go. They all get sacrificed for the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the way of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. They all get sacrificed for their master. You know what? Then it comes time for the Ahlul Bayt to go. Ali Akbar goes to get sacrificed. On and Muhammad go, Qasim goes, the children of Abu al-Fadl Abbas go. Abu al-Fadl Abbas even himself is sacrificed for the way of his master Hussein. You know what happens, my brothers and sisters? You know what happens? On that day, Abu Abdullah al-Husayn goes to his enemies. He says, Hal min nasirin yansuruna? Is there anyone to help us? Is there anyone to help us? Hal min nasirin yansuruna? Is there anyone to help us? Nobody responds. But they say nobody from the enemies responded, but there was a 6-month-old baby who, when he heard his father's cry for help, he fell off his cradle. The women and children started crying and screaming. They started lamenting. Abu Abdullah al-Husayn, he goes back to the tents. And you know what he sees? He sees that his 6-month-old baby, Ali al-Asghar, has fallen off his cradle. You know, he knows what Ali al-Asghar wants. Abu Abdullah al-Husayn, he takes this 6-month-old baby and he goes to the enemies. He has this 6-month-old baby covered in his abba so that when he reaches them, they think that he has a Quran. And he had a Quran, but it was Ali al-Asghar, the Quran of Ali al-Asghar. Abu Abdullah al-Husayn says, "O son," well, he says to the enemies, if there's anybody with the slightest bit of humanity, this child is thirsty, give him water. Nobody responds. Nobody responds. You know what? Then Abu Abdullah al-Husayn says, if you think that by me going to get him some water, I will quench my thirst, I put this baby on the ground. I put him on the ground. He puts him on the ground. Go give him water. Nobody responds. Nobody responds. And then you know what happens? He takes his baby back into his arms. He says that, "O son, O son, O son." These enemies, they have reached such a state of jahiliyyah that they won't even give a 6-month-old baby water. He says to them, he says to his son, "Son, my words are ineffective on their hearts. You do something that will have an effect on their hearts." So the son, he turns around, he takes his dry tongue and he rubs it around his even drier lips, and the enemies start saying that we should give this 6-month-old baby some water. This 6-month-old baby, we should give him some water. At that time, Umar ibn Sa'ad calls out to Harmala saying, "Kill the words of Hussein. Kill the words of Hussein." You know what Harmala does? He takes a 3-headed arrow, and he tries once. He tries once to throw the arrow, he can't do it. He tries again, he can't do it. The third time they say he closes his eyes and he throws the arrow. Somebody asked him, oh Harmala, if I had seen you before, I thought that you were the most valiant of the Arabs. What happened to you on the day of Ashura that you couldn't even kill a 6-month-old baby? You know what he responds? He says, every time I wanted to throw the arrow, I saw a mother in the background. Harmala throws the arrow. Harmala throws the arrow. They say it was a 3-headed arrow. It was a 3-headed arrow. The arrow hit Ali al-Asghar. They say one side hit one ear, one head hit one ear, and the middle head pierced his throat, and the other side came out the other way. Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, he does not know what to do. Imagine, put yourself in the position of Aba Abdullah. Put yourself in his situation. Put yourself in his situation, my dear brothers and sisters. It is said that he would go from the riverbank to the tent and back and forth. Every time he would go back and forth, he kept on saying the phrase, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un, ridan biqada'ihi wa tasliman li amrih. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. You know what happens when he reaches the 10th to 7th time? He goes in. And the first person to see is not Rabab. The first person to see Ali al-Asghar in this state is his 4-year-old daughter, Sukaina. He has Ali al-Asghar wrapped up so she can't see the wound, she can't see the blood, she can't see the suffering. She says, Father, did you get my brother some water? Father, I was thirsty as well. Father, did you get my brother some water? Father, I was thirsty as well. Did you give him some water? Father, I was thirsty as well. Then Rabab comes. She sees Ibn Abdullah al-Hussein by that time has removed the covering from Ali al-Asghar. She says, you know what she says? She says, do they really kill little children like you in this state? Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, he goes to the back of the tent. He digs a little grave. But before he digs a little grave, Lady Zainab finds out that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein had come back. She says to her brother, oh brother, she goes to the back of the tent and she says, oh brother, oh Hussein, I will let you dig this grave, give the infant to me. He digs a little grave. It was tradition in the Arab world that when they dig a grave, they put water on the grave. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein lays Ali al-Asghar in the grave. He says, oh son, how gharib, how stranded is your father, that he cannot even put water on your grave. It is said that he cries so much that water sprinkles the grave from the tears of Abu Abdullah. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون مات من حسين.
Syed, Ya Syed, Ya Syed, Ya Syed, Ya Syed, Ya Syed, Ya Syed.
ای ز سولت لا فتا الا علی در شأن تو ای ز سولت لا فتا الا علی در شأن تو میبرد شمر از سرت معجر فکیف تصبحون کودکانت را به واد غیر ذی زر است و جای حال ما دور از وطن یا لیت قومی یعلمون انعم الله علینا برسول مدنی هو جدي وأبي وواسط الكون علي خيرة الله من الخلق أبي بعد جدي فأنا ابن الخيرتين فضة قد خلصت من ذهب فضة قد خلصت من ذهب فأنا الفضة وابن الذهبين ذهب من ذهب في ذهب ولجين في لجين في لجين أنا مظلوم حسين أنا مظلوم حسين عجبا وعجبا عجبا و عجبا امت کفار که یک سر چشم پوشیده ز حق نمک آل پیامبر عجبا و عجبا امت کفار که یک سر چشم پوشیده ز حق نمک آل پیامبر همه در ریختن خون من آن بی کس و یاور شده آماده و بگرفته به کف نیزه و خنجر و ستجزون من الله اذا قام قیامه انا مظلوم حسین انا مظلوم حسین انا چیست تقصیر من ای قوم که امروز جهانی شده آماده به قتلم همه با تیغ و سنانی در شما نیست ز اسلام نه نامی و نشانی انا عطشان وقد احرق نطقی و لسانی انا ظمآن وقد احرق قلبی و فؤادی انا مظلوم حسین انا مظلوم حسین لما يا قوم تريدون ببغي وفساد لما تسعون بقتلي بلجاج وإناد ليس والله سوانا خلف بعد النبي فرض الله على طاعتنا كل عباد أنا مظلوم حسين أنا مظلوم حسين من له جد كجدي في الورى من له جد كجدي في الورى أو كشيخي فأنا ابن العالمين فاطمة الزهراء أمي وأبي قاسم الكفر ببدر وحنين عبد الله غلاما يافعا عبد الله غلاما يافعا وقريش يعبدون الوثنين يعبدون اللات والعزى معا يعبدون اللات والعزى معا وعلي كان صلى القبلتين مظلوم حسين أنا مظلوم حسين أنا فأبي شمس وأمي قمر فأنا الكوكب وابن القمرين که خداوند تبارک و تعالی به من آیات منظم و به تورات و به انجیل و زبور و صحف و جمله فرقان چه امی و چه یاسین اذا جاء و وهمی به تکریم و به تعظیم من و مادر و جد و پدر و عم و برادر شما رحم نکردید به من راه ببستید دلم را بشکستید انا مظلوم حسین انا مظلوم حسین انا مظلوم حسین زیر خنجر شه لب تشنه حسین گفت تو ای شمر ستمکار تو ای ملحد مکار تو ای کافر غدار تو گر نشناسی بگویم بشناسی حسینم ضیاء القمرینم قتیل الودجینم امام الحرمینم انا الفضة و ابن الذهبینم منم شهپر جبریل منم آیه تطهیر منم نخله خوبان منم زاده زهرا منم عرش و منم فرش منم کرسی و لوح و قلم و باعث ایجاد دو عالم جگربند بسولم نگهبان بتولم بنی نخل برومند زهرای بتولم بار لاها نشود لال به هنگام ممات بار لاها نشود لال به هنگام ممات هر زبانی که فرستد به محمد صلوات الله
आशूर की शब हाय सकीना का वो रोना और सैयद मजलूम का बेटी से ये कहना अरे तू रोए मैं ये देख नहीं सकता सकीना अच्छी नहीं ये बात ना रोया करो बीबी अच्छी नहीं ये बात ना रोया करो बीबी अच्छी नहीं ये बात ना रोया करो बीबी पहलू में कभी माँ के भी सो या करो बीबी पहलू में कभी माँ के भी सो या करो बीबी अच्छी नहीं ये बात ना रोया करो बीबी अच्छी नहीं ये बात ना रोया کیا ہوئے کسی شب کو جو ہم گھر میں نہ آئیں، تم ہم کو نہ پاؤ تمہیں ہم بھی نہیں پائیں، تڑپو گی نہیں درد سے وعدہ کرو بی بی، پہلو میں کبھی ماں کے بھی سو یا کرو بی بی، پہلو
میں کبھی ماں کے بھی سو یا کرو بی بی، اچھی نہیں یہ بات نہ رویا کرو بی بی۔
ارے بیٹھا کرو کچھ دیر چراغوں کو بجھا کر، سمجھا کرو اس خاک کو اے لاڈلی بستر، بالی کبھی یوں ہی نہیں پہنا کرو بی بی، پہلو میں کبھی ماں کے بھی سو یا کرو بی بی، پہلو میں کبھی ماں
کے بھی سو یا کرو بی بی، اچھی نہیں یہ بات نہ رویا کرو بی بی۔
کچھ دیر کو یہ فرض کرو ہم نہ رہیں گر، باقی نہ رہے ہاتھ کوئی رکھنے کو سر پر، ماحول یتیموں کا بھی سوچا کرو بی بی، پہلو میں کبھی ماں کے بھی سو یا کرو بی بی، پہلو میں کبھی ماں کے بھی سو یا کرو بی بی،
اچھی نہیں یہ بات نہ رویا کرو بی بی، اچھی نہیں
یہ بات نہ رونا کرو۔ شاہ حسین، 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 شاہ حسین۔ یہ دو تین شعر تھے تو لفظ میں، وہ ایک شعر میری کسی بحر میں تھا کہ چلائی ماں علی اصغر ظالم کا تیر روکو، شبیر کے گلے پہ ہے نظر حرملا کی ہے، شبیر کی گلے پہ نظر حرملا کی ہے، چلائی ماں علی اصغر ظالم کا تیر روکو، شبیر کے گلے پہ نظر حرملا کی ہے۔ اس کا میں نے جواب لکھا 2 یا 3 شعر، پھر صرف 2 یا 3 منٹ میں اس کا میں نے جواب لکھا کہ اس وقت میدان جنگ کا نقشہ بدل گیا تھا، اس وقت میدان جنگ کا نقشہ بدل گیا تھا، سر کو اٹھا کے اصغر نے روکا جو تیر کربل میں، سر کو اٹھا کے اصغر نے روکا جو تیر کربل میں، اور لگا ہے جو تیر اصغر کی گردن پہ دوستو، لگا ہے جو تیر اصغر کی گردن پہ مومنو، لہو کی بجائے جاری تھا، لہو کی بجائے منہ سے جاری تھا شیر کربل میں، اور لگا ہے جو تیر اصغر کی گردن پہ دوستو، لہو کی بجائے منہ سے جاری تھا شیر کربل میں۔ صلوات بر محمد و آل محمد، اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد محمد وجل فرج علی شاہ حسین، شاہ حسین، شاہ حسین، ساحر بھلا लिखेगा क्या करबल के हाल को, दिल थाम के जरा सुनना इस रंजो मलाल को। खुद मालिके शरीयत हो, खुद कब्र भी बनाते हो, खुद मालिके शरीयत हो, खुद कब्र भी बनाते हो, फिर खुद रेत में छुपाते हो तुम अपने हिलाल को। आजा वे लाल असगर, 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 आजा वे लाल, आजा आजा वे लाल असगर। लोरी तैकू सुनावा, लोरी तैकू सुनावा, क्यों रुस गया है माँ तू, आजा मैं वारी जावा, आजा वे लाल असगर, आजा वे लाल असगर, आजा वे लाल। ओ झूला तेरा झुलावा, झूला तेरा झुलावा, क्यों रुस गया है माँ तू, आजा मैं वारी जावा, आजा वे लाल असगर, आजा वे लाल असगर। आ मेरा नाज़नीने डाडी गरम ज़मीने, आ मेरा नाज़नीने डाडी गरम ज़मीने, आजा मैं झोली पाके वाला दीचा बढ़ावा, आजा वे लाल असगर, आजा वे लाल असगर। झूला तेरा झुलावा, क्यों रुस गया है माँ तू, आजा मैं वारी जावा, आजा वे, आजा। अमड़ी ना रज के चाया, भैनी ना रज खिड़ाया, अमड़ी ना रज के चाया, भैनी ना रज खिड़ाया, आजा मैं तैकू पढ़ के, आजा मैं तैकू पढ़ के सुगरा दा खत सुनावा, आजा वे लाल असगर, आजा वे लाल असगर, आजा।
मावा करबला दिया मावा, मावा करबला दिया मावा, मावा करबला दिया मावा, करबला دیاں ماواں ماں کربلا دیاں ماواں پتراں دیاں لاشاں دے ٹکڑے رہیاں لب دیاں وچ صحراواں ماواں کربلا دیاں ماواں ماواں کربلا دیاں ماواں 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 کربلا دیاں ماں صبر دے مالک نو سین لیلا آکھے اذن جے دے تے میں صبر دی سانج چ اکبر دے سینے تو سانگ ہٹاواں ماواں کربلا دیاں ماواں ماواں کربلا دیاں ماواں ماواں کربلا ماواں کربلا ماواں آنکھ ماں قاسم دی ماتے احسان کری آنکھ ماں قاسم دی ماتے احسان کری یا حسین کربلا دیاں ماواں کربلا دیاں ماواں ماواں کربلا ماواں آنکھ ماں قاسم دی ماتے احسان کری دیر تئیں لڑدا روی تیرے ٹکڑے مطابق ودھنیاں نے میرے ویر حسین دی ساواں ماواں کربلا دیاں ماواں ماواں کربلا دیاں ماواں ماواں دیاں ماواں ماواں آنکھ ماں قاسم دی ماتے احسان کری دیر تئیں لڑے داروی تیرے ٹکڑے مطابق ودھنیاں نے میرے ویر حسین دی ساواں ماواں کر دیاں ماں وہ عابد بیمار تھا وہ عابد بیمار تھا جلدی سے جو لاچار تھا جلدی سے جو لاچار تھا اور شام کا بازار تھا اور شام کا بازار تھا اور مصطفیٰ کی بیٹیاں امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی سینے پہ جو شہ کے بلی سینے پہ جو شہ کے بلی جس کی ابارن میں چلی جس کی ابارن میں چلی مولا امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین بس
السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليكم سائر شهداء كربلاء خصوصا سيدي مولاي أبا الفضل العباس يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء، السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء، السلام عليك يا سلطان يا أبا الحسن يا علي ابن موسى أيها الرضا، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسأل الله تعالى مخرجك وزهورك، السلام عليك وعلى آبائك الطيبين الطاهرين، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل